if you'd like. All right, we are live. We are back. I think we'll also be live on Facebook very shortly. We are going to continue. All right, we are live. We are back. Give me one second. I think we'll also be live on Facebook. All right, so we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. We are going to do our invocation prayers that we're always doing. Are we live on Facebook? Yes. Okay, we're live everywhere. So, welcome everyone. We got a nice gathering here, and hopefully this is the norm going into the future. There's a nice momentum here. We're all going out on Harinams together. We're all doing morning programs together. So it's a nice feel here at Mantra Central. I like it. And let's continue all together.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Safari. Yeah. It was not shared.
Okay.
Yeah. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Very good. And now we'll do our prayers to the Gurus, trying to invoke all the blessings that we can to properly speak and properly hear on these divine subject matters. The lineage of Gurus are going all the way back up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself.
Namaha. Namaste Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyari Bhaskara Deshatarine.
So, we are going to continue on with the Bhagavatam. We have been talking about the purificatory nature of hearing from the Great Soul, especially Sutta Goswami. We ended last time that the sages are glorifying hearing directly about the personality of Godhead. Why is that doing like that? I hate this. Aha, got it. Okay, there it is. All right, so without further ado, we are going to continue. So they are very excited to hear about the Supreme Lord and his avatars and his different incarnations, and their all the auspicious adventures of them. And they're saying this is going to be the greatest benefit for all of us. So please share these messages. And now, hearing for us to be in the position of the sages, this is so important actually, hearing Harikatha. The prominence is on chanting in this movement, but there is no good chanting without hearing proper Harikatha. Our own ability to do chanting is nil, actually. We need to hear, we need to receive the instructions of those who are more advanced than ourselves. And unfortunately, you have to hear from me. But, my job is to just transmit the message of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, the Guru Parampara system. But they're the one bestowing the mercy. They're giving us the sincerity and the mercy necessary to do good chanting. So hearing Harikatha is so important, which is why the sages wanted to sit down for 1,000 years and do it. Without any cessation, no break. The whole Bhagavatam was spoken 7 days straight, hearing Harikatha. No rounds of japa, I don't believe, or anything like this. No eating, no drinking. They just were wrapped in attention. So this is a very important process. I'm not saying that this is what we are going to do right now. We all have a limited capacity to hear and share Harikatha. But to make time every day for hearing Harikatha is very important. So this is why we have it here in the morning. So that's why the sages, they wanted to sit and hear Harikatha exclusively. So without further ado, let's hear it. We're on text 20. Kritavan kila karmani saharamena kesavaha ati martyani bhagavan gudhaka patamanushaha jai. Kritavan, done by, kila, what? Karmani, acts, saha, along with, Ramena, Balaram, Keshava, Shri Krishna, Atimartyani, superhuman, Bhagavan, personality of Godhead, Gudaha, masked as, Kapata, apparently, Manushaha, human being. Purport or translation. Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. So Prabhupada is saying, the doctrines of anthropomorphism and zoomorphism are never applicable to Sri Krishna. So anthropomorphism, I think, is giving giving human-like qualities to the Lord, And zoomorphism is giving animal-like qualities to the Lord, or just giving animal or like qualities, I believe. So let's see who are here. Maybe we have some guests. Are never applicable to Sri Krishna or the personality of Godhead. The theory that a man becomes God by dint of penance and austerities is very much rampant nowadays. So meaning, people, hello, we're having a Bhagavatam class, so please come take a seat and join us. Yes. So, yes, please come join. All right, we have more guests, so very nice. So penance and austerities is very much rampant nowadays, especially in India. So they think that, oh, if I do lots of meditation, if I do lots of penance, I can become God. This is a nonsense idea, actually. We are never in the position to ever totally become God. We can maybe wake up to the fact that we are the part and parcel servant of God, but we can never become God, no matter how much meditation you do or anything like this. This is a very silly thing, but it's very popular, especially in India. Since we're reading from Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam. Since Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were detected by the sages and saints to be the personality of Godhead, as indicated in revealed scriptures, many unscrupulous men, many immoral men, have created their own incarnations. This process of concocting an incarnation of God has become an ordinary business, especially in Bengal. This is unfortunately the case. There's a few of these. There's the Sai Baba movement. There's this one now in Vrindavan that's rampant, this Bhakti Marg, where I see it's very offensive. They put this tulsi leaves on the feet of this Vishwananda that's going around pretty much saying, oh yes, I'm the new incarnation of Krishna. And this is so dangerous, because what is actually the traits of an incarnation of Krishna? The Shastra actually reveals it. I mean, even ourselves, we follow in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we believe wholeheartedly to be the most recent incarnation of Krishna. But there's Shastric evidence of that. There's not, it's not that, oh, I'm an incarnation of Krishna, and it's like, okay, well, do you meet the Shastric evidence that you're an incarnation of Krishna? And the reason we believe that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of Krishna, because he does meet every quality of the Shastric evidence. So this is how we have to see things. There's a checks and balance. There's three things. We have to see things through Guru, through sadhus, but where are they all getting their knowledge from? It's Shastra. Shastra is the foundation. What are the Shastras saying? And if the sadhus and gurus are following the lineage of Shastra, then they're bona fide. But if they're not following Shastra, then this is actually nonsense. And we see this, and Prabhupada is calling this out. Unfortunately, in India, I go to India often. It's a wonderful, very spiritual, beautiful place. But it's also a place where it's called Karma Bhumi, where people are expediting their karma. So you see people in intense poverty. You see people with, arms and legs disfigured. Everything is coming. And then also you see lots of cheaters. I know especially because as soon as I go to India with white skin, they say, oh, very nice. You are a perfect candidate for cheating. So I get my karma very much expedited when I go to India. Everyone is trying to cheat me, which is, I deserve it, but it's, India is like that. So Prabhupada is saying some of a lot of nonsense things are also going on in India. So anyway, where are many unscrupulous men have created their own incarnations. This process of concocting an incarnation of God has become an ordinary business, especially in Bengal. Any popular personality with a few traits of mystic powers will display some feat of jugglery and easily become an incarnation of Godhead by popular vote. Lord Sri Krishna was not that type of incarnation. He was actually the personality of Godhead from the very beginning of his appearance. He appeared before his so-called mother as four-armed Vishnu. Then, at the request of the mother, he became like a human child and at once left her for another devotee at Gokul. where he was accepted as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata. Similarly, Sri Baladev, the counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna, was also considered a human child born of another wife of Sri Vasudeva. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his birth and deeds are transcendental, and that anyone who is so fortunate as to know the transcendental nature of his birth and deeds will at once become liberated and eligible to return to the kingdom of God. So Prabhupada's making an important point. The personality of Godhead you don't become the personality of Godhead. It's not like, it will be revealed at birth. In Lord Chaitanya's case, there were so many instances that were from birth, from childhood, every step of the way, like, this is not ordinary, this is very special. I mean, there's one I'm thinking of, it's very popular, this Ramakrishna movement, where he's said, I'm an incarnation of Muhammad, I'm an incarnation of Jesus, I'm an incarnation of Kali, every type of incarnation he's saying he is. But from his childhood, this was not the case. He lived an ordinary childhood. He didn't do, ordinary things. And yes, there were times he performed some mystic abilities. He has some mystic ability, no problem. But he's not, this is not God-level activities. It's revealed in Shastra what God can do. Like, for instance, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna to reveal to him the Vishwarup, his universal form from which he created the universe. And he was able to do it on the spot. He did it another time in partial to Duryodhana and the other, and in front of Dhritarashtra when they tried to seize Krishna before the war started. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed multiple forms to different devotees in different places. But, this is, if you ask these fellows, these so-called incarnations of God, well, let me see your godly prowess. They'll just chastise you or something. Oh, you don't have faith, or can you not see? Oh, you're so unqualified, you're so unfortunate. But no, God, if he wishes, he could reveal himself to anyone if he so desires. So like this. Okay. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his birth and deeds are transcendental, and that anyone who is so fortunate as to know the transcendental nature of his birth and deeds will at once become liberated and eligible to return to the kingdom of God. So knowledge of the transcendental nature of the birth and deeds of Lord Sri Krishna is sufficient for liberation, sufficient for being beyond birth, death, disease, old age, sufferings of this material world, being free from the bondage of here. Moksha, it's called. Just by having knowledge of the nature of his birth and deeds. In the Bhagavatam, the transcendental nature of the Lord is described in 9 cantos, and in the 10th canto, his specific pastimes are taken up. All this becomes known as one's reading of this literature progresses. It is important to note here, however, that the Lord exhibited his divinity even from the lap of his mother, that his deeds are all superhuman. He lifted Govardhan Hill at the age of 7. He lifted a mountain on his pinky at the age of 7 years old. And that all these acts definitely prove him to be actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet due to his mystic covering, he was always accepted as an ordinary human child by his so-called father and mother and other relatives. Whenever some Herculean task was performed by him, the father and mother took it otherwise, and they remained satisfied with unflinching filial, like parental love for their son. As such, the sages of Naimisharanya describe him as apparently resembling a human being, but actually is the Supreme Almighty Personality of Godhead. So they're saying how the Supreme Lord, he came and played like a human being, but masked. He performed many superhuman acts, which indicated that he's definitely not an ordinary human being. But the paradox is that for his closest devotees, they want to see him as a human being. His closest devotees don't want to see him as God. We have to see him in this beginning stage as God, because it will help us set the proper... We're so removed from God in our consciousness that we have to see him in that position. But when we get very close, actually, it's better we don't see him like that. So then we could have a more intimate relationship. When we see him as God the Almighty, this Aishwarya, the Ishwara, when we see him like that, it causes fear, natural. Fear and reverence. Because we realize how small we are in comparison. Why should I have any type of friendship with you? Why should I, how can I even be qualified to approach you? It forces fear upon us. And it's good in the beginning, especially when we're very unsavory in our acts, and we are, unfortunately, in this material world. It's good we have some fear of God. We talked about this on Sunday. It's good, it's proper. But when we get close to God, and eventually we develop an intimacy for him, and he allows us to develop that intimacy, then he will begin to cover that knowledge of his Aishwarya nature, or Ishwara nature. And ultimately, what will be prominent is called the Madhurya nature, his sweetness. There's a nice bhajan, Madhuram, Madhuram. I don't know the rest of it, but it's pretty much about Krishna is the king of sweetness, and everything he does is sweet. This thing is sweet, that thing is sweet. The whole bhajan talks about how sweet Krishna is. This is how the residents of Vrindavan see Krishna. But we cannot just artificially think we are qualified. This will be revealed in the 10th canto of this work in the Bhagavatam. But we should go through the first canto, verse by verse, systematically. We should not just jump. It's very popular. Prabhupada said this in many purports before this. How popular it is to just try and jump to the 10th canto, jump to the essence, jump to the highest moods and bhavs and things like this. But this is not the process. The process is to hear systematically Bhagavatam. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we're fortunate enough to hear Srila Prabhupada's purports and illuminations on this. And he heard this systematically himself, which is why he's able to share this from qualified teachers. So, where are we? We finished this, right? And when one is well established in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he can take up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment and self-realization. Prabhupada is saying we should understand the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita first. This was Krishna's most popular teaching to the world, at the most basic level. And then more confidentially, now we're ready for Bhagavatam. Ready? Verse 22.
No, 21.
21. Oh, no. Oh my God, that's what happened. I just read the last line. As such, the sages of Naimisharanya describe him as apparently resembling a human being, but actually he is the Supreme Almighty Personality of Godhead, yes. Kalim agatam agyaya kshetresmin vaishnave vayam asina dirgha satrena kathayam sakshana hare Kalim, the age of Kali, the iron age of quarrel. Agatam, having arrived. Agyaya, knowing this. Kshetre, in this tract of land. Asmin, in this. Vaishnave, especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. Vayam, we. Asinaha, seated. Dirgha, prolonged. Satrena, for performance of sacrifices. Kathayam, in the words of. Sakshanaha, with time at our disposal. Hare, of the personality of Godhead. All right. Knowing well, repeat after me. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun. We are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. Yagya. Jai. So, this is what we're here to do. That's what the sages are here. They know that the age of Kali had begun. And this was 5,500 years ago, and they knew the age of Kali has begun. It's gotten a lot worse. We are established, very well established now in the age of Kali. But they're here in this holy place, Naimisharanya, to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform yajna. This is actually the yajna of the age, Sankirtan. A lot of people think that necessarily means, okay, we will just chant one mantra. That is, there is a Brahmataraka Nam. There is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is the prime mantra we should be chanting, the prime yajna we should be doing. But what are they doing? They're actually hearing about the pastimes and qualities, the Harikatha of Krishna's pastimes, and that's what Bhagavatam is. And that's what actually we are called to do. We're called to hear Bhagavatam. Maybe we can't do it with such rapt attention as the sages of Naimisharanya or Parikshit Maharaj, who did 7 days straight fasting, not even taking a drop of water in that time. But we can do it systematically. We could do a little bit every day, like we're doing right now. What time is it, by the way? 53. Good. So Prabhupada says, this age of Kali is not at all suitable for self-realization, as was Satya Yuga, the golden age, or Treta or Dwapar Yugas, the silver and copper ages. For self-realization, the people in Satya Yuga, living a lifetime of 100,000 years, were able to perform prolonged meditation. And then in Treta Yuga, when the duration of life was 10,000 years, self-realization was attained by performance of great sacrifice or yajna. And in the Dwapar Yuga, when the duration of life was 1,000 years, self-realization was attained by worship of the Lord, specifically in the deity form. But in the Kali Yuga, the maximum duration of life being 100 years only, and that combined with various difficulties, the recommended process of self-realization is that of hearing and chanting of the holy name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord. So this is very important. All these things have to be heard and chanted. The name,
Fame.
Mahamantra. The fame, this is all of, what are Krishna's accolades, his leelas, his pastimes, and pastimes. Name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord. His teachings as well. The message of Godhead in this verse, it said. Very important. Over a period of, the sages of Naimisharanya began this process in a place meant specifically for the devotees of the Lord. They prepared themselves to hear the pastimes of the Lord over a period of 1,000 years. By the example of these sages, one should learn that regular hearing and recitation of the Bhagavatam is the only way for self-realization. This is Prabhupada speaking. Because you'll hear, in ISKCON even, you'll hear other, unfortunately, you're going to hear that this is not, some people, there's even maybe a sect, a movement, just chant kirtan, or just do this process and just do that process. But this is not actually, this is not Bhagavad Dharma. This is not what the Bhagavatam is propounding. It's not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is propounding. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to have devotees chant literally all night in kirtan. But still, some of the things they were chanting were they literally would chant the Bhagavatam. But they had the qualification where as they're sitting there in kirtan, their kirtan could be Bhagavatam, and they could be reciting shloka after shloka after shloka, hearing and understanding the pastimes of the Lord. We're not so qualified, unfortunately. Maybe not. It might take many lifetimes to get to that qualification. But what can we do? We can chant the holy names right now. We can chant the Maha Mantra. We can have the realization that we should focus our energy on Krishna. Maybe we'll read maybe a person might get through the Bhagavatam in their whole life. Maybe they'll read through the whole Bhagavatam. I do feel fortunate. I've gotten to go through the Bhagavatam, and now I'm going through it again with you guys, and I feel fortunate but that may not be available for everybody. That we have to regularly hear and recite, and it's the only way for self-realization. Srila Prabhupada is saying this. Other attempts are simply a waste of time, for they do not give any tangible results. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the system of Bhagavat Dharma, and he recommended that all those who were born in India should take the responsibility of broadcasting the message of Lord Sri Krishna. So we've got Piyush here. My kind sir, please remind me your name? Ravi and Gayatri. Nice to meet you. And then we have Parth here. And then me and Michael are not born in India, so we actually don't have as much responsibility as you all have to take responsibility of broadcasting the messages of Lord Sri Krishna. Primarily the message of Bhagavad Gita. And when one is well established in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he can take up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment and self-realization. So this is very important for all of you. You should take up the message of Bhagavad Gita. And also, I'm trying to share in the responsibility. It's not, I don't have, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was giving that verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he didn't actually say that it's my dharma to do this, but it's all of your dharma. So, but I'll help you if you'd like. Michael will help you too. We'll do our best, but it's actually in your dharma. You're so versed in this. So these things need to be shared with everybody. So, we'll continue. Tvamna sandarshito datra dustaram nistitir kalim satvaharam pumsam karnadara ivarnavam tvam, your goodness, naha, unto us, sandarshitaha, meeting, datra, by providence, dustaram, insurmountable, nistitir shatam, for those desiring to cross over, kalim, the age of Kali, satvaharam, that which deteriorates the good qualities, pumsam, of a man, karnadaraha, captain, eva, as, arnavam, the ocean. Translation. They're talking to Sutta Goswami. This is the sages, and I think the spokesman is Shaunika Rishi. He says, we think, actually this is a very important verse. Actually, we have a Prabhupada disciple, Bhagavad Ashraya. He's coming in a few weeks' time, and he'll stay here for I think about a week or more. And he's a very dear mentor of my wife and I, him and his wife Sarvamangala Mata. But he actually, last time he was here, he did a class on this verse, just this verse, for 4 days straight. I don't know, maybe, were you remember? Were you here when Bhagavad Ashraya Prabhu was here? Were you here, Piyush? What's that? Yeah, so he did a class on this verse for 4 days straight. How important. And small purport too. And I'll probably just blow right over it because that's my low level of qualification. But here we go. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. So this is how you meet this spiritual master. It's by the will of providence. You can't actually you can try, you can make endeavor, you should make every bit of endeavor to try and meet such a qualified human being. But it's ultimately by providence and good fortune, by the mercy of the Lord, that you can meet a qualified personality. But you have to be sincere. If you're not even sincere, these sages are so sincere. They're performing yagas, they're doing all their duties, they're studying all the different shastras, they're doing everything they can, and by good fortune, now they get to meet Sutta Goswami. What are we doing? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. What are we actually doing to deserve the mercy of the Lord? The Lord will give His mercy, but all He's looking for is sincerity. There's your endeavor, but it's ultimately the Lord's mercy. When you can try so many things. You know, Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, they meditated for thousands of years to try and, you know, achieve their goals and victories. But because they weren't sincere and it wasn't for a higher or good purpose, the Lord had to come and thwart their plans. What plans are we making? Are we making plans to serve the Lord, or are we making plans to get money, to get prestige, to get power, fame, wealth, all these things? What are you making in your plans? If your plans are not connected with service to the Lord, your plans will be foiled. And it'll be good that He foils them eventually. And if it's not foiled now, death will come eventually and foil all of your plans. So don't make these type of plans. This is not intelligent. It doesn't mean we just stop doing our duties. No, but why are we doing our duties? And Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. It's ultimately for the pleasure of the Lord. Bhagavatam will teach us how to do that. So, by providence, by goodness, we can meet such a captain of the ship who's going to steer us over this difficult ocean of Kali. This age is just deteriorating all the good qualities of a human being. Just go out and associate with the common people. It will be empty. There will be no real satisfaction. Most people have to intoxicate themselves just to tolerate each other. Especially in the West, we go to family gatherings, and everyone's like, "Where's the beer? Where's this?" Why? Because even in social gatherings, I need beer, I need alcohol. Why? Because they really can't even tolerate each other sober. If they're in a sober, clear thinking mind, they can't even tolerate each other. So they feel like, come on, let's just intoxicate each other so we can all, have a good time together. But this is horrible. It's horrible that you need to do this type of thing just to associate with each other. Or you'll feel dissatisfied with each other's company. Why? Because all the good qualities of the human being have just deteriorated. And really it is, I often do. Sometimes I go out and I'll do ordinary activities, maybe with family, maybe with old friends, things like this. I'm sorry if any of you are listening and you're offended. We do broadcast everything live. But this is the nature. All the good qualities of human beings are ultimately it's deteriorating. And what's the prominence is actually selfishness. People, and selfishness and ignorance. They want to enjoy lots of sex life. They want to enjoy lots of intoxication. They want to enjoy delicious foods, all the worldly pleasures. And in the midst of that, and entertainments and worldly delights. But in the midst of that, they're stepping over each other and we're harming each other. So this is Kali Yuga. And it's very difficult to cross this ocean of this. We've probably felt that we've had these qualities in our life. I know I have. I did this for years. All these type of activities. So Prabhupada's saying the age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization, understanding who we are, what is the higher purpose. But due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And man, it's accurate. When you get to the 12th canto and it describes Kali Yuga, it's like, oh man, this is it. This is what we're in right now. And this was 5,500 years ago, predicted. What a prophecy. That it's one of the you could even look it up if you want. You could look up the what's predicted in the 12th canto for this Kali Yuga. And yeah, man, it really came true. So you'll see. But a list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self-realization. It's hard. Self-realization is very difficult in this age. Because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification. And if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Yes.
I think you might have skipped.
I skipped something?
Yeah.
The whole... Oh, yes. Thank you. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realization because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. There's a common Western acronym called YOLO. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It means you only live once. And technically they're correct, but not how they're thinking. They think in this body, you only get one shot at this, so just enjoy hedonism. As much enjoyment you can squeeze out of these body and senses as possible. And they think like this. What's the point of self-realization? I'm wasting my time. I only have a little bit time left. They have no idea that they're just going to get thrown right back into a reincarnated stage. And maybe they have to suffer because you have to suffer karma. You get the life that you get due to your past karmas. So they don't realize what they do in this life is going to have reactions that take them to the next life. They don't have this understanding. They think that they only get one body, and they call this living. This is not living. Real living is in the eternal world, where you're eternally in your position. We're not living. Actually, what's happening is we're dying. From the moment we take birth, we're dying. And just in a process of dying, and it takes about 100 years. Or sometimes less. Kali Yuga is people can die very quickly now. You know, children are dying, diseases, and all kinds of different deaths. This wasn't always the case, at least in before Kali Yuga, before 5,500 years ago. It was very uncommon for things like childhood deaths and things like this. The modern scientists would disagree with this sentiment, but that's not what's stated in the ancient Shastras. The ancient Shastras said these problems actually started to come about 5,500 years ago. So, the whole system of education is geared to sense gratification. And if a learned man thinks it over, that's our job, think it over. He sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. That's what your schooling is doing to you. And maybe, do you have children? You have children. I bet you're very prominently encouraging them, get your education, right? Go into the slaughterhouse. You're laughing, but it's scary, right? Yeah, there's a way. Parth is, I drive Parth to the slaughterhouse down the street every day. I pick up Piyush also from there sometimes. This is not where you're going to get an education. You might have to find some duty to do there, but there's no real education there. They're actually slaughtering you, teaching you that sense gratification is the means and aims of life. And how dangerous this is. Actually, I have the good fortune of being with Bhakta Michael. He just graduated from his high school slaughterhouse. But he decided he didn't want to further go into the slaughterhouse of sense gratification. At least for right now. Maybe he will decide that will become important for him.
Hopefully that never happens.
But, well, we'll see. Who knows what Krishna calls us to do. Krishna he sent Arjuna into a battlefield. He'll send, Parth is in the battlefield. There's no way out for Parth at this point. But there is, but it's not, I don't think it's the appropriate way out, personally. But we should understand what real education is. It's not how to, this is fresh in my mind because Parth's always telling me what he's doing. He's learning how to build antennas for his career. But no matter how many antennas you build or finance or whatever field of study you're in this material world, if it's not meant for your self-realization, understanding who you are, what the purpose of life is, what is the ultimate means and aim of life, it's empty. It will meet with death. And it'll be completely forgotten, just like you've forgotten every other past life that you've ever lived. and all the mundane things that you chased in the midst of that life. So, learned men therefore must be cautious of this age. Be cautious. And if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Sutta Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is what, we're going to end here. This is what we need to do. We need to get a proper captain. Right now, here in Syracuse, there's not much opportunities. And somehow or other, I'm somehow connected to the lifeline of our acharyas driving this beautiful, elaborate ship through this ocean of Kali Yuga. And so me and my wife and some of our humble associates are trying to have Mantra Central being like a little rowboat that can take you to this ship. Like, come on, we got to get, we're a little rescue boat. And we're coming out to Syracuse to help a few people out in Syracuse. And we got to get back to this ship. And what is this ship? The message of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We must take this ship, or we will not be able to cross over this ocean of Kali Yuga. And we're going to fall into all kinds of nonsense of sense gratification. And ultimately, we will waste our time. We will waste this life. So please, do not waste your life. Your life is so valuable. It's so important. And it must be used in self-realization. Maybe you have work. No problem. Krishna didn't tell Arjuna to quit your job. Krishna told Arjuna to do your job. But offer the fruits of your work to me. That's why we do our job. To facilitate a life of self-realization. To facilitate a life of pleasure to the Supreme Godhead. To facilitate a life where you're assisting the message of Godhead going out to all the living entities. Arjuna on a battlefield was able to kill many, many millions of people for the pleasure of the Lord, ultimately to establish the Lord's dharma and justice and righteousness. You might be, what is your career, Ravi?
I'm retired now.
You're retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're in great. You're in Vanaprastha stage now. And in Vanaprastha you can, now you really can fully immerse yourself in self-realization. So now your dharma, so to say, the ashram you're in is that you can study and do more austerities and more immerse yourself in the Lord and His teachings, in meditation and so on. So that's very good. You're very fortunate. I wish I was retired. I'm not. But maybe one day. Piyush, what are you going into?
Right now I'm not Grihastha, but
Not the ashram, I'm saying your career.
as a data analyst.
A data analyst. So, okay, maybe as a data analyst, it may be inevitable that you have to analyze the data of
The healthcare.
maybe the healthcare system, which ultimately is not up for self-realization, right? But you can offer the fruits of that work. This is Bhagavad Gita 101. You can offer the fruits of that work to one, setting up your own life for your own self-realization, and maybe some family members along the way, maybe a wife, children, setting up a life for them for self-realization. And then two, you can also offer some of those fruits to supporting other local projects like, say, Mantra Central for self-realization, facilitating the self-realization of others. This is how we can use these things. And it's good. For instance, the person who purchased this house that was helping support Mantra Central for so long, we're looking to move to a self-sustainable model where my wife and I are actually working to purchase the property in a few months' time, and actually rent out rooms and things like that to help facilitate and cover costs. But he was doing work for the Discovery Channel, for many years. The Discovery Channel, it's not like Discovery Channel is putting out how to achieve the highest realms of self-realization. They're talking about here's the animal life, and here's this thing, and here's that thing. And if we just were to focus on that, it would ultimately all be useless knowledge at the end. When it's time for death, it won't matter what the period that the dinosaurs came in, or whatever thing like that. These type of knowledges that people are always talking about. But ultimately, he used the fruits of his work that he was doing for the Discovery Channel, and he actually facilitated that Mantra Central can go on. And he's one of the core members of the team. Without him doing that work, we couldn't do our part of the work in trying to reach the people of the community in a full-time way. So this is how we can use the fruits of our activities to for our own self-realization and our near and dear ones' self-realization, but ultimately for the self-realization of all. So this is how we properly use the fruits of our activities. But we need to have a captain of the ship to help guide us in that, and that's Bhagavatam. That's Bhagavad Gita, and it's also the bona fide representative. I'm not a fully qualified bona fide representative, but I'm a bona fide representative in showing you my bona fide representative, which is Srila Prabhupada, his many disciples, and there's many wonderful Shiksha Gurus who are presenting this knowledge and who are far more realized than I personally am. So my job is to just link you to them. And their job is to link you to, say, Srila Prabhupada, the teachings of their guru, who's linking you to his guru, who's linking you to his guru. And this is the parampara disciplic succession, which is ultimately going back to literally incarnations of the Lord and great demigods and great sages like Narada and Vyas and Brahma. And ultimately it's coming all down from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We need to be linked. So we are going to be linked. We'll end here today. Thank you, whoever joined us online. We'll continue this process of exploring Bhagavatam together. Thank you also on Facebook. And I'm very encouraged to share that. I'll take this off now. We have nice community members here. Probably feel free to spin it around on the Facebook too. So nice to have you all with us. It's our great pleasure. And from here on out, we're going to do our second part of the program. And then we'll have breakfast prasadam. Does that sound good? So thank you again. I'm going to end here.